5 texting mistakes you need to avoid when you're messaging women. I'm dating coach Hayley Quinn. I work with men and women and I see a lot of people's text messages. So in this short video, I'm going to be covering 5 key areas where messages can really let you down. Let's be honest, in 2020, it's never been such an important time to make sure that you're really, really good at messaging. If you're meeting more women online or women are perhaps more cautious than before to go on that date with you, you need to make sure that your ability to message is really great. If you find time and time again that your text messages or your online dating app chats seem to go absolutely nowhere, hopefully the advice in this video is going to help you out so you can start to make some simple changes to make your text messaging far more exciting. On the note of exciting, point number 1, so big texting mistake number 1 is to be too bland and too generic. I have literally seen screenshots from women's online dating profiles where all of the guys are asking them the same question. It's always, hey, how's your weekend going? How are you? What are you up to? And then you think, if this woman is getting all of these messages that are very similar from plenty of different guys, how is she able to tell how you are unique and interesting and different? And it can be really simple to avoid using these bland, generic, and probably what women might say lazy messages when you're communicating with a woman. Instead of saying, how are you today? Even if you just switch that up and say, what's made you smile today? Or what trouble have you got into today? Immediately, just substituting a couple of those words is going to make a really big difference in terms of how different your message appears. And if your message is different, if your message isn't bland and generic, then she's going to think that you're different and that you're unique. So really try and avoid those common turns of phrases, that lazy, how's your weekend going messaging style that will make the woman who receives the message just go, oh, I can't be bothered to reply. So keep your messaging style interesting with some simple substitutions. So second killer text messaging mistake that you need to avoid, don't ask her out within the first message, not even within the first 2 messages. Now you may be thinking, I'm bored of dating apps. I just want to meet people in real life. I'm just going to filter for that really strongly and I'm going to ask her out quickly because at least then she knows that I'm interested in her. And rather than spending all this time messaging a woman, at least I'm going to get a straight answer. Now, whilst that I can see the logic in that, this actually never ever works. So if your first messages at the moment or your first 2 messages are saying, hey, you know, I like your smile and that you're into yoga, how about a coffee sometime? That is never really going to be met with a positive response. That's because you simply haven't given the woman enough chance to also invest and contribute to the interaction. No woman really wants to be asked out just because you think her profile looks good online. Instead, she wants to feel like she's being asked out by you because of how she's contributed to the interaction. So whilst it can feel time-saving to send a cut and paste message which gives you a little description of your life and goes straight to asking her out, this actually won't work in the long run. Text messaging mistake to avoid number 3 is the opposite of that, where you take absolutely ages to ask a woman out. Now, from speaking to lots of women who I'm coaching and working with, I can tell you that they will get bored of an interaction that they don't feel has a direction and a purpose. So whilst you don't want to ask her out purely based on her looks and her profile, you also don't want to have a really long conversation with her which doesn't seem to have a purpose. So if you find yourself cycling through her interests, so 1 minute you're saying, I see that you're interested in art, what galleries do you like going to? And then 3 messages later, you're saying, I noticed you're also into yoga. Have you been able to do that during lockdown? If you keep changing the topic, but at no point is there a move forwards towards actually asking her out or getting her phone number or making a definitive move, again, the interaction is highly likely to run out of steam. Also, as a side note, have you noticed that when women use online dating apps, that they tend to use the app like a lot for maybe a day or 2, then they seem to lose interest and stop checking it? If you're not capitalizing on the interaction and you're swapping lots of messages with a woman over the course of a day, that doesn't culminate in asking her out, remember, a few days later when you eventually get round to it, not only could she have lost interest in you, but she could have also lost interest in the dating app that she's on, meaning that you're not going to get the opportunity to ask her out. So just as much as you don't want her to ask her out on the first message, you also don't want to leave it endlessly long before you then ask her out. Often when you do this, it comes from a space of feeling like you have to do more to prove how much you like her before you're allowed to ask her out. And I just want you to remember, if you're asking yourself the question, how long is it before it's okay to ask a woman out, you're actually asking the wrong question to yourself. It's not about a length of time or a number of messages exchanged. It should be about how you connect to her as a person and how invested she is in the interaction. So text messaging mistake to avoid number 4, which is linked to this, is to stop pursuing women who are not investing in you. I get that it's frustrating if you feel like you had a really, really great date with a woman and she seemed keen to see you again, or if one day on a dating app she's messaging you loads and then the next day she seems to disappear. I can understand that it's frustrating that you feel that she seems to have changed her mind, or that she isn't communicating with you, or that she isn't simply being polite and just saying thanks but no thanks. But what you have to get to is, if a woman isn't responding in a way that is invested and interested and engaged with you, remember that she is, in her way, communicating either, I'm really sorry, I'm actually not that interested, can we just let this message interaction go? Or she's showing that she's not invested in the process of dating as a whole. So if you find you're messaging women and you're getting just emojis or one-word responses, and trying to develop the conversation feels like pulling teeth, you need to stop and remember to have some standards. You should be looking not just to impress any woman that you come across, but you should be specifically looking to date women who seem to be invested in the process of dating as well. This means that she's spending time writing quality responses to you. If you're not getting a quality response, take it as a sign that she's not that invested in dating and therefore is unlikely to be the kind of person who will actually go on a date in person with you, or that she's trying to sub-communicate to you, look mate, I'm really sorry, but I'm just not that interested. Either way, you don't want to date this woman, so stop spending that time and energy chasing women who aren't investing in the interaction with you, and instead save that energy for all the other women out there who will be open to that. Text messaging mistake to avoid number 5, and I hear women complaining about this quite a bit, is injecting some flirting clumsily into the conversation. Now, I totally understand that if you've been watching some dating advice videos on YouTube, you may have got the impression that if you don't flirt in a way that's really obvious to a woman, that she may put you in the friend zone, or that you're not expressing your intentions clearly enough. So if you're at the moment worrying that flirting or making the conversation more sexy is something that you have to do, and you're really trying to shoehorn that into the conversation in a way that doesn't necessarily make sense within the context of the conversation, this can be another really easy mistake to avoid when it comes to messaging. So to explain this a bit further, I was speaking to one of my female clients recently, and she was talking with a big sigh about a guy that she'd been messaging online. Everything seemed to be going okay. They were talking about holiday destinations that they liked. She said she'd like to go to the Maldives because they have these open air showers. And then he said something to the effect of, do you fancy having a shower with me? And the thing was, it was so jarring in the conversation. The conversation had been on travel, shower with me. It just didn't make sense in terms of the context of the interaction. So whilst flirting is clearly important, you have to do it at the right time and at the right pace. This is so important to you to get right. I understand that you want to show her that you do have a sexy masculine side. However, really make sure that your flirting is smoothly transitioned into the interaction and that she is participating in it as well. Because if it's just dropped in there out of context, it's likely to put her off rather than turn her on. So as you can see, this whole topic of how to message a woman effectively, how to communicate with her, how to flirt with her. There's a lot of stuff going on here, and there's loads of skills that you as a man can really improve upon to make sure that you're actually communicating your best self and attracting the women you want. And remember, if right now you're not getting responses to those messages or things aren't really going anywhere, this isn't actually a reflection of you. It could just be a sign that you really need to look on and work upon your communication skills. If you'd like to do that, I'd really advise you to head over to hayleyquinn.com/unite. The link is below this video. I've got a free video mini series there, which is going to give you far more detailed advice than I've been able to give in this video. If you have liked the video, I'd really appreciate it if you give it a thumbs up, a comment or a share. I'm dating coach Hayley Quinn, and I will see you again very soon.